So, hello everyone, and good morning and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for this session called Sip Talk and Connect. It's great to see people from different backgrounds coming and joining this session. Yeah. Those who don't know, Sip Talk and Connect is our monthly session designed to give light on common misconceptions which artists, collectors find hard to navigate. Right. So the goal of this session is to make your artistic journey more accessible, so that you can take informed decisions rather than just trying to do things randomly. Right. So those who don't know me, my name is Vikas Garg. I'm an art curator and consultant, and I'm in the field since 2019, and I'm supporting artists in their artistic journey. So today we'll be talking about how to apply for grants, residencies, and open calls. And as always, it's not a lecture; it's a guided conversation, right? Wherever you can. Whenever you have any questions or doubts, please feel free to ask. Either you can write it in the chat or just raise your hands and just start talking. Yeah, right. And I'll try my best to answer all of them, right? And so today's, let me share my screen. I created a presentation so that it will be easy for you guys to understand some things. Can Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So today's session, as I mentioned earlier, today's session is not about hacks or quick tricks to get the opportunity. Instead, it's about understanding how opportunities actually work and how institutions think, artists can position themselves and make their proposals more clear and professional, right? Because I worked with a lot of artists, and artists have this constant feeling of being overwhelmed when they are applying to residencies, grants, and open calls. I'll say because the process itself feels very confusing and competitive, right? But in reality, it's not. I'll say strong artists simply struggle with clarity. It doesn't, like, your work is very strong, but if you're not clear about your positioning, your presentation, and your alignment with the residency, it's always tricky to it will always be overwhelming, right? So today I want to break this down in a practical way for you to find from you to find the right opportunity to writing applications that genuinely reflect your practice, right? Let me change the slide. Okay. So today, this session is designed, as I said, this session is designed for practicality rather than theory, right? So I'll be sharing things that comes directly from my curatorial work, working with institutions, reviewing applications, supporting artists through projects and exhibitions. Some of these points might sound very simple, like, oh, come on, I know this already. But I'll say often the basics are exactly what makes the difference. So in today's session, we'll understand residencies, open calls, and how institutions evaluate applications, common mistakes artists make, building a strong portfolio, writing application with clarity, budget statements and portfolios again, and practical tips for international residencies. So before we move forward, how many of you have applied to grants, residencies, and open calls? Anyone? It's a
Yes, I have
non-judgmental
applied.
space.
I have applied.
Okay. Yeah. So you have applied, Ritika, and
Yes.
Tanishk has also applied. So how was your experience applying when you applied for this grants and residencies?
I got very confused about the kind of work I should attach in my portfolio, also how to write the proposals and that, quotation and everything. It was very confusing for me.
Fair enough. That I'll say that's totally normal. Yeah. And what about you, Tanishq? How was your experience?
Mm, like I have applied randomly with, by looking, okay, this opportunity seems cool, but maybe it's not right opportunity for me. So I haven't got revert back from such open calls.
Fair enough.
Only like 10% revert back. Daily.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll try to explain this both the things you mentioned right in the slides coming up, because it's a lot of things. I'll try to cover in it. So things might be short and might be to the point. But if you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me, or please feel free to just email me straight away, and I'll try my best to help you in that sense. Right. So first, we'll start with very basics. Right. So first we'll try to understand the difference between grant, residency, and open call, right? So grants are basically financial support for your research, production, travel, community engagement, or project development, right? On the other hand, residencies are specific to the time in terms of like artist development, research, experimentation, networking, or production. And finally, open call, they are the opportunities for exhibitions, projects, publication, talks, festivals, or collaborations, right? What I have seen is that many artists apply to everything, right, without understanding what opportunity is actually working. Like residencies are not always looking for a final output, right? Sometimes they are more interested in the process, experimentation, or research, right? So if you approach residency with a like a final output, chances of you getting selected will be less, right? On the contrary, when you apply to grants, they usually want clarity, feasibility, and impact. Like if I'm giving you X amount, how many people your project will reach to? What will be the actual impact it will create, right? And lastly, open calls focus on specific themes, audiences, and curatorial directions. I hope it's clear so far. Okay, and if you feel like I'm going too fast, just let me know. I'll slow down the pace, right? So now the question arises: why do artists get rejected, right? Because rejection doesn't always mean that your work is weak. It's very often application nahi, I will say, like very often your application fail because artists sending same material everywhere without adapting it, right? It's like s- someone wants a community engagement activity in their proposal, but you are just writing down exhibition, like, oh, my work will end up having an exhibition, right? So you have to adapt with the application itself. In a lot of cases, institutions can immediately tell when the application is very generic or the idea is being generated by AI, because when you do things like this, it's very repetitive. If you search just like, okay, hey AI, give me 5 ideas on which I can apply to this residency, it will be very generic and same ideas which have already been done, right? There's no scope of something new which comes in, right? And one of the biggest mistake artists make is assuming that good work alone is enough, right? Because in reality, communication matters as much. So I'll suggest when you are applying to any grant or application or anything, right? Follow 4 why rules, right? So now you must be asking, what are those 4 why rules, right? So 4 why rules are: what you do, why you do it, why it matters, and why this opportunity makes sense in your practice, right? Because it will cover all the things a jury wants to see, right? Because they get tons of applications and they have to go through them. Like if they can understand your thing within first 10 seconds, this means you have passed the prelims of the thing, of the application. The longer it takes for them to understand, the chances of you getting there will be less, right? So make sure you use these four why things, right? And now the question arises, like now it's like what every artist should have in their in their applications, right? So I'll say you don't need to look like a major international artist when you're applying to these residencies, grants, or open calls. You just need to look professional, sound professional. And one thing you need to make sure you have is clarity, because most like, how will I say, because more clarity you have, the more precisely you'll be able to articulate your idea and practice, right? Similarly, a strong portfolio doesn't mean complicated or overly academic words, like how will I say, like to sound very fancy. In other words, the more accessible your application is, the much more stronger it will become, because precise communication is way more stronger than tons of random words, right? So rather than using some fancy superficial words which you just talk about on surface level, try to simplify that and use words which actually resonates with you, right? Because they are not looking you in person, right? It's the PDF or digital file, right? And it should feel like that they are talking to you rather than some overly academic things, right? And one more thing, you need to make sure that all your material should feel organized, intentional, and easy to understand. As I said, needs to be accessible. So if you guys ready for one thing, I generally do this in the consultation sessions. So I'll give everyone 2 minutes, and if you can write about you and your practice in just one sentence. Is this okay with everyone? Is everyone up for this? Sounds great. Okay. It's 12:26. I'll give you 2 minutes, and time starts now. You can ask me questions if you have. Okay, I can give you an example. I think if we are struggling, then I'm Vikas Garg. I'm a curator and art consultant working with contemporary and modern South Asian artists. Right? I talked about myself and what I do in one sentence. I hope this helps. Would anybody like to share what they have written? It's been 2 minutes, so if anyone would like to share. Okay, that's great. I'm Pratha, and I love doing landscape portraits using oil oil medium. That's great. I'm Ritika, working as a freelance artist, and my work is about the connection of goddess and present life. Good. Good. That's very good. Like I like Pratha's answer more. It's precise. It talks about the theme, right? Broader theme and the medium they use. With the Ritika's, I'll say don't use freelance artist because you are in the field now, right? You are a professional artist. You can say practicing artist, right? That makes more sense and that looks more professional, right? See, as I said, basics are something which actually makes the difference, right? Because a lot of times we overlook those small things which can actually make you sound very professional or make you stand apart from the crowd, right? Okay, Tanishk Pratap Singh. I'm Tanishk. I paint how suffering becomes normal in everyday life using street cows and anti-portraits through mixed media on canvas, occasionally watercolors on canvas. Yeah, sounds. This is also good. So everyone is getting the idea, right? Why clarity is super important, right? Yeah, watercolor on paper. I got that. Thank you, Tanishk. Yeah. So I think this makes more sense, right? Like the more clear you are, the more precisely you can write about you and your practice, the more and more more and more opportunities will come, right? So we'll move forward with this, and so every so when you write any grant, any application, or any residency thing, they always ask about give your artist statement, right? So can anyone tell me what is the role of an artist statement?
It's basically about what you do and why you do in your practice and
Mhm.
what material you use for your expression, what you want to convey to your.
That's actually true, and that's to the point, right? Anyone else would like to add anything in it? No? Okay. So well said, Tanish. A strong artist statement explains your practice clearly, right? It should help someone unfamiliar with your work to understand your theme, your process, your material choice, and your motivation. Because artist statement is something you don't write for yourself. You always write it for curators, juries, institutions, and organizations who may review hundreds of works, right, or hundreds of applications. Therefore, clarity is the key. And I might sound like a broken record where I'm saying the word clarity again and again, again and again. But trust me, that's one of the most important thing when we review applications we see. A lot of artists have tons of good works, but they don't have clarity. Like, why are they doing it? What motivates them? What's their story? Right? So if your artist statement is missing the clarity or any of this, right, this means it's time to hit your desk and start doing some homework. I'll suggest try doing a few drafts, like use 4 why rule first, right? Start making one or two sentences for each. Then have three versions, like one should be like 50 to 80 words, second should be 100 to like 150 words, and third should be 300 plus words, so that you'll exactly know why, how, and like all the things which represents you, your practice, not anyone else, right? And it will give you more clarity. So now again, as I said, like when you apply, they ask for, oh, share your portfolio with us, right? Okay, few works which you feel like best in your portfolio. So can anyone tell me what do you mean by a portfolio?
Yeah, portfolio is simply just a collection of your work, your best work, And best series collection of work that has the same thread of emotion and or your intent. What's your story? The all the work should represent your story. Simple.
Fair enough. Anyone else would like to add anything in it?
Yeah, it can be a collection of artwork based on
Mhm.
either categories or themes or whatever it is. Along with, like, it shouldn't be artwork itself. It should also have a description of what that artwork means and for whom it is supposed to be and where it should find its place. Uh,
Hmm.
Something like that. If
Fair enough.
if it is, if you are intending for selling or for display in any commercial place or any institutional place, then I think you should also mention where this picture should be best kept, so that the person who is interested to buy can also narrow down their choices.
Fair enough. That's a different element of portfolio. What you are describing, that when you write down where it should kept, right? So it will help them narrow down the choices. That's a different purpose of the portfolio itself, right? And for that, we try to create a different kind of portfolio, which is specifically for sales, right? But when we talk about institutions, it's a different portfolio altogether. But I'm not saying you are wrong. You are also right. It is a part of portfolio, which it's a role of portfolio to help people understand what they are looking at, why they are looking, right? Anyone else would like to add anything? Anyone? I earlier thought Ritika wants to say something, but if that's not the case, then it's fine. No, okay. Okay, so both Tanishk and Pratha said it really well. Like, it's a collection of work, but the role of portfolio is beyond just showcasing the works, right? A portfolio is not simply collection of work. It's a curated presentation of your practice, right? So what we have noticed, like what I have noticed throughout my journey, is that many artists include a lot of works, right? So when we say a lot of works, it means like, oh, here's my 15 works, 20 works I made during my bachelor's or master's. So I'll add everything in it, right? Oh, here are 20 sketches I made, right? So let me add that. So end up having like 50 works in their portfolio or 40 works in their portfolio. That's good when you are doing it for sales purpose, right? Like have a specific theme around the, or have a specific theme around the topic, like around the works, and then showcase all those works in it, right? That's where the thing Pratha was saying, it helps in selling, right? But what I recommend as a curator is that it's better to show few strong works than many average ones, right? I It's not about the number of works you showcase, to be honest. It's about how you are showcasing it. Okay, let me try to simplify this, right? Like it's think it like a space where your works can create a rhythm, sequence, and a visual flow, right? And why it's important now? Because oh, come on, it's my series. I'll put this work first, this second, then third. But why like a good visual flow and sequence matters? Because let's say, like, when we look at the portfolios, right? So first two or three works, we look at them, and then we know exactly what are the rest, like how it's gonna look like rest of the portfolio, right? So first few works create biggest, like how, let's say, first few works create impression for your whole portfolio. If your first few works are very powerful, strong in narrative, we'll tend to look at the whole portfolio. But if it's very weak, or it's just well, I say just average, then we we don't look at in the detail, right? As I said, because we have a very limited amount of time in this session, right? We already have a whole video on how to create a portfolio on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to look at that video. It will give you more clarity, and I really suggest you to check that out, right? Any questions so far? Anyone?
Yeah, please do share the link of the YouTube video so that we can.
Yeah, sure. Let me just give me a second. Then yeah, I'll share the link of YouTube channel. You can have a look if you'll just give me a second. Okay, here it is. Come on, man. Sometimes the laptop works super fast, so it takes longer than needed just to search some things. Okay, here it is. I have added the link in the chat. So can you guys see the link? Okay, can you guys see the link? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's our YouTube channel. Have a look. We have a lot of interesting videos there, right? Okay, so we'll try to move forward, and then we'll take all the question answers, like every Q&A you have. Like we'll move towards Q&A if it makes sense. Okay, sorry, here it is. Okay, so what I was saying, like when it comes to find a, so everything is fine, right? When it comes to portfolio, artist statement, or writing an application, everything, okay, I can do this. But the question arises where to find a opportunity, a good opportunity which resonates with my practice rather than something which is just there, right? So how will I say, like many artists miss out on a lot of opportunities because not because they are not researching or searching for things, but they are not consistent, right? You don't need to look for opportunities every day, but you should build a routine where you spend once in a week, like sometime every week, and look for residencies, grant publications, or mentorships or workshops. In this search, you'll make sure to keep one thing in your mind, that not all the opportunities needs to be international. I'll personally recommend everyone that start with your local and regional opportunities, because they are the one who will give you strong long-term career impact than the international residency, right? But like, let's say, like when you, because when you look for opportunities, you see every day there are tons of new call outs are there. There are tons of new, like, hey, residency is happening, join. Hey, they apply to this grant, apply to that grant, right? But in this whole process, we forget one thing: where our practice stands. Is this particular opportunity, like, is this particular opportunity I'm looking at, does it reflect who am I? Does it actually makes me push the boundaries of my current practice, right? What does it mean? It means that I'm working on male mental health, right? And I'm talking about mental health surrounding me and my experiences, right? But when I start applying to these residencies, I notice that a lot of residencies talk about mental health and environment, but I never talked about environment in my practice because I was just focused a lot more on what I feel from inside rather than how my environment is impacting my practice. Sorry. So so now when I apply to a residency, I look at the point, okay, so now they'll be focusing on environment and the mental health as a whole, right? This will help me push the limits of things what I'm trying to achieve. I hope it makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't.
No, no, it doesn't.
Okay, okay, perfect. Yeah. So whenever you look at the opportunity, try to make sure that that opportunity sits within your practice rather than just oh, here's the opportunity, right? So as I said, don't look for always look for international residencies, but when you look for international residencies, there are a lot of things you need to consider, because there are two types of residencies which are out there in the world. First is fully funded, like three types, not two types, three types. First is fully funded residency. Second one is partially funded. Third is you have to fund self-funded, right? When you apply for self-funded residencies, it's easy nut to crack, right? Okay, I'm paying you money to go live at a place. Here's and the residency people will give us a mentorship theme, and I'll just go and paint and understand what residency actually means. Then I'll be back. That's easiest nut to crack. But competition begins when it's partially funded and fully funded, right? Because when I say partially funded, it's like they are giving you accommodation, they are not giving you travel, or they are not giving you production. This means the moment you enter in a different country, you have all these overheads to cover. So this means to get that to get into that residency, you have to make sure you are applying to grants to cover your other expenses, right? Bec- But on the contrary, fully funded residencies give you everything you ask for. But there's a catch in it, right? Although your cultural strength, you have your cultural background is your strength, but when you apply to these residencies, they won't necessarily always come together, because a lot of times it's about, okay, so I apply to a residency. I live in India, I apply to a residency in Europe. Okay, my visa cost, my travel cost, my stay cost, all those things increase drastically, right? That's why if I'm the organizer, I'll prefer someone from European Union only, so that they don't need to pay for visa, or their flights will be like as cheap as £100, like €100. It's like 10,000, right? It gets cheaper, right? So a lot of time international residencies works with you, but at the same time it's not, right? So again, that's why I said, like before this slide, that make sure you start with your local and regional residencies, because they will give you the push needed to apply to these big residencies, because generally when you apply, they ask previous residencies you have applied, right? Previous works in the residencies you have done. So all those things will come together. Is it clear so far? Okay. So has anyone created, so like everyone applied to residency, right? So has anyone created budget before? No. Okay. Okay. So this means if I'll ask what are the challenges you faced, won't make sense, right? Because you guys didn't make the budget. Okay. I'll uh, I'll tell you about my first experience of making a budget when I started my curatorial journey. So I trained as a fine artist, and when we are in art school, they don't talk about money, they talk about work and the idea behind the work, things like that, right? So having those conversations around money was not my cup of tea that time, right? So the first budget I ever created, so it's funny, it was so bad. Like I detailed out each and everything, and that too highest. Like, oh, it's like, okay, getting a cup of tea for 10, but I'm like, what if I'll go to this country and it's this state and it's not for 10, they'll start selling me for 20. Getting it like that small differentiation in amount, and in the end it becomes unrealistic, because a lot of costs I overestimated, a lot of costs I underestimated, right? So as I said, it was always difficult, it's still difficult for me to talk about money, but that's not the idea here. The idea is a lot of artists face this problem where conversations around money is very tricky, right? So how will we create budgets, right? Because it's not something which you can ignore. Every residency you'll apply, they'll ask for the budget, how much you are planning to spend, right? So it's a part of your professional practice, and you need to know how to make it, right? Because institutions ask for budget in application because they want to understand your proposal is realistic or not, or achievable or not. When you share a proposal, it should not be overly complicated. As I said, use as simple terminologies, right? And it needs to be simply showcase the project requirements rather than writing down everything. Okay, what does it mean, right? Example, you apply to a residency and you want production cost, right? That production cost will involve nails, threads, paper clips, and paintbrush colors, right? So all those things. But rather than writing down production cost and paintbrush this much, paper clips this much, write down production cost, description, and in description it should have production will include this, all the things, and it's gonna cost this much, right? So now when I look at the budget, I'll be like, okay, this artist will use these things in the production and it will cost this much, rather than having a very big Excel sheet, right? I'll have 10 columns where I have everything in it. So in UK, we have this national lottery, right? So they give grants. So when you apply to their budgets, like when you give them the budget, they only give you 8 lines to write, right? And each line should have the main thing, like example production, a description, and how much it's gonna cost. So it doesn't need to be exact to the last cent or to the last rupee. It should be a holistic figure where, like example, your thing is costing 928 rupees. Rather than writing 928, you can write 950, right? Round off the figure. So they'll understand, okay, there's something there. And in budget, a lot of people forget to add their time, right? In residencies, if they're paying, like I can tell you about my curatorial residencies. Some residencies, they ask for us to prepare budget because they don't give us our time at the residency, right? So if I won't add my time to the residency budget, then I'm doing it as a charity, and that's not good, right? And if some juror will look at my budget, they'll be like, how come he'll sustain if he won't pay himself, right? So add a bit of cost to yourself as well. Always make sure, unless and until it's given that you'll receive a grant, yeah, you'll receive XYZ things, right? So that's why read your thing carefully and then create the budget, right? Does it make sense? Right? As I said, I'm just talking about this whole thing with my own personal experiences, because I learned through mistakes, I learned by talking to people, I learned by being on the judging panel, right? So I know how a bit of things work, right? So that's the idea. That's why I'm able to share these insights with you, right? Now, now comes networking, and I'll say everyone knows about the importance of networking, because networking in the creative field, networking is the soul, right? It all comes down to who know you, right? And that's how you build your ladder, and that's how you start going to these these exhibitions, or these elite things where people will start recognizing your work, right? Because it's not about pushing yourself aggressively, it's about telling who you are. And I'll say networking plays a very crucial role in this whole ecosystem. That's why you apply to these grants, residencies, and open calls, because institutions have access to people who will actually appreciate the value of work, of your work, or appreciate your art practice, not in just terms of oh, very good work, in terms of actually making sure that your work is seen by the right audience, right? So when those people know you, they'll recommend you to other people, right? So as I said earlier, networking in the arts, it's not about aggressively promoting yourself, it's about building a genuine professional relationship over the period of time, because a lot of opportunities happen because people remember you as a professional, your professionalism, your consistency, your clarity, your engagement with the field, right? You don't need to know everyone, right? But you simply need to build a meaningful relationship where you can talk to people, right? You know, like, easiest thing to start with, go to these exhibition openings, right? go to go to like talk shows, workshops, or follow artists on social media, appreciate, like, if you like any of the work, like, give them a shout out, right? So that you'll start being seen by those people, right? As a gallerist, what a lot of galleries, because now Instagram is one of the biggest platform for artist hunting, right? So how these people search as a gallerist, how we as a gallerist search, right? Example, you are an artist, you liked a gallery a lot, and you want to build a future connection with them. What you'll do, you start attending their openings slowly, right? Don't pitch yourself straight away, hey, I'm an artist. You go to their openings, you go to their events, panel discussion, talk shows, right? Slowly make sure your face is recognizable to them, right? Then you'll start that process of knowing them, like what kind of artists they work with, or what how do they choose these artists, right? Or if you like any of their artists or any of their posts on social media, just reshare it, tag them, give them a shout out. So that shows that you are actually interested in that particular gallery, right? And whenever, like, I'll say, when after this, when they have any open call, right, apply to that open call. So now what will happen, the chances of you being with them, you working with them, will high, because they already know you. You have built that personal relationship, which is not forced, it's gradual, right? Because art field works on relationship building rather than selling things aggressively, right? So next, okay, rejections, we all have faced it, and I'll say rejection is the best teacher. And I know that a few of you have already applied to grants, right? So you guys got rejection, right? I also did. I got the rejections. But what was the reason of having that rejection? Have you guys ever asked them? Could you give us feedback on my application? No, they just said, "Oh, unfortunately, we can't go forward with your application," and that's the end of the world. No, and that's where a lot of people lose the conversation itself, lose the touch point, right, from that organization's person, right? So I worked with artists, right, and they got these rejections, and for some it was like, okay, it's just another rejection, but for some it was like, I'm not good enough, I need to rethink everything. I don't know why I'm constantly getting rejected. I feel like I should quit this art practice, this, that. And it's a common reaction, right? Because you put so much heart and soul in your work, and if you're constantly getting rejected, this means there's a problem with either your work, either your practice, or either the organizations you are approaching, right? So if I just wanted to tell you, okay, okay, yeah. So as I said, rejection is a very common, right? And even the most established artists also got rejected. When we create a proposal, we pitch to an artist, we got rejected, right? So it's a part of life. And a lot of rejections happen not because it's your practice or it's what you have proposed. Sometimes the issue is simply timing or theme or budget or limitations in terms of geography or cultural direction, as I mentioned earlier, right? So so how will you overcome that particular thing, right? First, whenever you get any rejection, ask for feedback. Thank you for your time and going through my application. It would be great if you could please give me feedback, because their feedback is the biggest learning opportunity which you can ever have, right? Out of 10, 2 or 3 people reply in terms of feedback, but in terms of residencies, even more people reply, right? Grants there is less because a lot of people apply, right? So they choose whom to revert, right? And when they give you feedback, make sure what are the points they are talking about. So sometimes in those feedbacks, you'll realize the residency you apply to is not the kind of residency you have to be in, right? It's not aligning with your practice, or it's something else altogether, right? Or you propose finished product, they were more interested in practice or medium exploration, right? So slowly you'll gain understanding, and the more you'll write, the more you'll get the clarity, right? Because a constructive feedback is way better than nothing, because it will help you grow, right? So always make sure whenever you're applying to a residency, you go through the material, whatever they have given very clearly, what they have asked for, right? Is this something which is hidden? If you have any doubts, they always give an email address of a person whom you can reach out to. So I'll suggest straight away applying to the residency itself, reach out to the person and ask the idea like, hey, I'm this artist working on these things, and I go through your requirement of this residency. I have this particular question. So generally the people whom you'll be talking to are the people who will be in the selection panel, right? Again, it will give you touch points, because when you'll apply, they'll be like, oh, I remember this name, this lady emailed or this guy emailed, right? And then they'll look at your profile or your proposal more carefully. A lot of times they propose a Zoom meeting. Oh, we can sit and you can ask me all the questions you have, right? And if that happens, that's the biggest win-win situation, because you have you are talking to them in person, right? So you have more chances of making sure that they'll answer your queries, and they'll, when you'll send any application, they'll go through it like with more presence. So what I did in past that oh, here's the question, and they hop on a Zoom call, and I said, this is what I'm thinking. First reaction will be, oh, this is like asking examiner, is this answer right or not? Right. Second reaction is, I'm not asking feedback on the particular thing itself. I'm asking whether do you think it's weak or strong, right? So then they'll tell you. It's like, how will I say? You guys use AI, right? Right. If you'll ask AI, hey, tell me this, AI will say no, I cannot say. But if you'll ask the same thing with a different way, it will start giving you the answer you need, right? So it's like it's same process here. They won't give you straight away the answers, but they can tell you the problems which your project has. So reach out to them, talk to them, email them, share their things, or try to be connected with them as much as you can, so that you'll know what goes behind the process, right? And you'll prepare your application according to that, so rejection will be negligible. Does it make sense? Okay. Okay, so I'll say my final advice. Extremely sorry, it just weather changed, that's why. Okay, so my final advice to all of you is that instead of approaching all the residencies with the desperation, like, oh, I need to do all this thing in a single go, create a timeline, right? Develop a series of work or develop few narratives which strongly aligns with your practice, right? And think about your long term success rather than the short term, because when you'll think about long term, it will help you refine your writing. It will help you understand your practice and your professional sustainability, right? And all these things are very important if you want to have successful applications, because once you start thinking about long-term plans, you'll think few themes, you'll be when, and then once those themes are concrete for you, right? So you'll create those pillars, and then you'll move with searching for opportunities which fit in with this, right? Like, okay, I work on migration and labor. Now I'll be looking at all the residencies which work on migration and labor. But what kind of topic in migration and labor they are talking about, right? Is it labor as office people, or is it labor as like daily wage labor, or is it labor as what our mom put as a selfless love? What kind of labor it is which they are talking about, and how it fits with your practice altogether, right? Once those things are more clear, then it's time for you to start writing a draft of that application, right? How I approach it, I generally write 3 to 4 drafts. First, it's just vomiting out all the ideas I have, like, oh, maybe this might be this might be this, right? And then sit and go through it. So read the thing again and see what you have written. Is it aligning? If not, then start refining it. Okay. So again, use 4 why rule, right? And those things will start giving you more and more clarity. And once that structure is done, that's when you'll have more idea in terms of what you are offering to the residency. Is it even right opportunity for me or not, right? In terms of building a sustainable art career, again, we have a video on YouTube. Please check that out, right? Any doubts or queries so far? Please feel free to ask all the questions you have.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that ideally how many, like minimum, how many works should be there in the portfolio for any open calls, and, and how maximum how many looks professional and concise.
Okay, that's a very important question, and I believe a lot of artists think a lot about this. How many work needs to be there? I'll say first, depending on the theme you are talking about, right? And if the series, like example, your theme is mental health, and you have 80 works in that topic itself, right? So try to reduce it to 5 to 10 works, which clearly defines your practice, your style, your power and position in the field. Power and position, I mean how good you are with your material, command on material, right? And if it's a generic portfolio for you to share, right, then have at least 15 to 20 works, but make sure you have a very strong portfolio presence in terms of you're not just putting the final works itself. Some works you should also put behind the scenes, or some of your initial sketches and things like that, right? But again, make sure all the works should be cohesive. All the works feels like it's part of a series or it's done by the same artist, right? So that it aligns with your long-term plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one more question, regarding the sizes. What should be the standard sizes? I mean, it depends on artist practice, but if we have very varied sizes of work, like I have watercolor work also. So there's a variation of medium also and sizes also. So how to put them together, and because I don't know if watercolor and or mixed media oil and 4 feet work and 10 by 12 inches work on paper together can create an like unprofessional presentation support. Then what should be the approach?
Okay, so size in the artworks doesn't matter, right? What matters is how, as I said, think it like a curated space where a rhythm is following, right? That how beautifully that rhythm is being carved, right? How, what's the, if example, I made this bottle, right? And I was when I was making this, there was an incident which happened, and this particular bottle reminds me of that incident, right? So you can talk about that incident when you are writing your portfolio, right? Like, okay, this particular work, it's because this is the memory which associates to this work, right? All of a sudden you gave context to the work itself. If you don't have a very solid broad umbrella theme, right, and you feel like, oh, only 4 works fit in this theme, but rest is like different, right? Then what's the context behind this? Because once you start writing the context behind it, you'll notice there are repetitive patterns, right? Few things which are constantly triggering you, which makes you feel something about a certain thing, right? And that's how you start making it, right? So having those patterns and having those things in place, you'll end up reaching to the bigger umbrella where all your works comes in, right? Any, I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Okay, any other question?
I want to ask if the digital arts holds less value than handmade paintings, even if it's original or in or about a certain theme.
No, no. It's always about the idea behind the work itself, right? How someone connects with the work, right? I like, you must have heard Andy Warhol, right? Andy Warhol started these mass production printings, right? Print, and although he used daily objects, right, to and showcased it, but it was people who relate to those objects, right? There are illustrators, there are graphics, right? They are also the part of art, right, in a broader umbrella. If you have done fine arts, then you must know, like, apart from painting, applied art is also there, visual art, visual communication is also there, right? Sculpture is also there. So it's not like something is superior than other or something is inferior. Everything holds the same weightage depending on what context it comes in, right? If you do a lot of digital illustrations and you live in Varanasi, right? Example, you went to Ghat, Assi Ghat, and you had a walk from Assi Ghat to Dashashmev Ghat, right? You see tons of different things, and it ignite tons of different ideas in terms of, okay, let me make one painting, but I want to click some photos, right, of all these people who are sitting there on the ghat just looking at the Ganga, right? So it doesn't mean that your photographs hold less significance than the painting, right? Because they talk about the same things. That similarly, the medium or the things you are using is the extension of your idea. They are not the things itself. Like, they are not something which will hold you. They are something which will push the boundaries so that you can use different mediums, you can use different styles to reach to a idea where it's you and your conversation with your art practice, nothing else. Does it make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. And the type of art, I mean, form, technique, and look-wise, it should all be same in like it is done by the same artist, or can we have variations?
It can have variations, I'll say, right? But as I said, it should look cohesive. You can, right now you're drawing a cow, and later on you're drawing an elephant, later on you're drawing a horse. But the way you are drawing it, it should be same, right? It should be it should have a cohesiveness. Like, okay, you make elongated legs, example, right? So all the things will have elongated legs, right? Or if you try to exaggerate, like example, ears, if all your artworks have long ears like elves, right? So it should be there should be something which is just there for you, right? Right, it can be different themes, it can be different material exploration, but it needs to be your thing. I hope it makes sense.
Yes, yes, it does. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Any doubts, because we are already past the time, but if you have more doubts or queries, next week we are having our virtual artist meetup. Again, it's a monthly session where artists come together, we sit and we talk. Tanish joins always, so Tanish knows it's fun there, because we just sit and talk about all the doubts you have, or anything you want to know specific, because here it's more about making sure that you'll understand things, but in that it's more of an open conversation, right?
Okay,
So what I'll do is I'll add this link in the chat. Yes, so this is for our next week meetup. Please feel free to join, and I'll be there, and it's fun, right? And if okay, so so now, because we are reaching towards the end of the session, right? So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today and being part of this session. Before we say bye, I have a feedback form, and I have our ongoing exhibition, virtual exhibition link, which I'm putting in chat and description box. I'll request you to please have a look and give us your feedback, because your feedback is something which will help us in understanding how we are doing things and whether we are doing things right or wrong. Right. And I hope this conversation helped you to make feel more accessible, and like make you feel like things are more accessible now and practical, right? And I'll say art world can be sometimes intimidating, right? Especially when it comes to opportunities, right? Appear highly competitive or like institutionally driven, right? It makes you feel like overwhelmed. But rest assured, many successful applications comes down to clarity, preparation, and persistence, right? So please, I'll just support each other, right? And start sharing opportunities if you find any. Sorry, you can also join our WhatsApp channel so that you'll know that these are the things coming up, and we share. Sorry, extremely sorry. Yeah, so we share opportunities about residencies, grants, or open calls in that WhatsApp channel every week, so that if you cannot find it anywhere, just click there and you'll know exactly where it is. Right. The link I think I have added in the chat. And if anyone would like to need any more clarity or anything, please scan this QR code or email me on this email address. And I'll be happy to have a free 15-minute consultation with you guys. So I hope you like this session today, and I'll see you guys again soon next week, same time, same place, with another session in which we'll be talking about something else. And that is what collectors and curators look when they look at your work. Collectors in terms of what they look to buy when they look at your work in terms of an investment or support the artist, and collectors for curators in terms of when they place your works in institutions, right? And please email me if you have any doubts or queries, or if you don't find me, follow me, like find me on LinkedIn, right? Just search because Garg or Artlune will appear, and just drop a message and I'll be there to help. I hope it was enjoyable session. Please give us your feedback form. Feedback form link is also in the chat and in the description box. So enjoy rest of your evening, and I hope to see you next week for virtual artist meetup. Plus, if you are available this evening, we are having our Instagram live meet with a curator for our ongoing exhibition, Not an Extra. So please join us on Instagram for that. Enjoy. Bye.